What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Mega Talks podcast. This is episode 22. Before I get into the interview, I want to remind you guys to make sure you're liking, sharing, and subscribing to the podcast. Available on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, YouTube. Another project I want to share with you is my clothing line. Revamping some things on the YouTube channel, so make sure you're liking, sharing, and subscribing there at Ultimate Expression. If you have Ultimate Expression in your life, you need to be wearing it. On today's show, I'll be interviewing Greg McCuin. Now, in 2003, Greg went into a studio in Nashville, Tennessee and recorded one of his first songs as a solo artist. Later in 2005, he recorded a full-length CD called Empty. And that was recorded with a producer by Yankton Mingua. Hope I pronounced that right. But he produced bands like Chicago and played guitar with Rascal Flatts. Now from there, Greg went on to form his own band called McEwen when he met up with some other cats from throughout the United States, some from LA. And if you hadn't seen these guys play live, you're missing a great show. I've seen them play live. I've talked to Greg a few times, met him and some of the band members. They're in the studio right now. A little bit of different lineup, but we're going to get into that in the interview with this, who he's got playing in the band now, what's coming up on this new project, where they're going to be performing at, all that kind of stuff. We'll talk about in some of the history and some of the trials and tribulations that a rock and roll artist goes through. But sit back and enjoy the interview. We had a whole lot of fun talking here. And keep listening to Mega Talks and enjoy the interview. All right, this is Christopher Thompson. I'm here speaking with Greg McCuin, and you're listening to, just two dudes chatting on my podcast called Mega Talks. How you doing today, Greg?
I'm good, man. I'm living the life, I think.
Great.
So far.
And, a lot of times when I have people on the show, we get started talking about just kind of some history and laying some foundation, just in case there's, I know a lot of people already know who you are, but in case somebody doesn't know and they're listening for the first time, who is Greg McCuin and what's he about?
Oh man, I'm just a guy that tries to treat other people like I want to be treated, and I don't know, for some strange reason, God gave me some amazing gifts to be able to play music and interact with people, and I don't know. I guess hopefully that's a legacy I can leave my children, and my children are already starting to. Of course, I'm pretty old, but now, and we've got my kids coming up and playing music and stuff, and
that's great.
I don't know. It's about leaving a legacy, and just hopefully I'm known for just loving people where they're at and not really judging anybody. I got this saying.
Mm-hmm.
It's only bad press if they spell my name wrong.
Yeah, that's true.
But no, I'm just a regular guy, and just following his dreams, just like anybody else. I had the same opportunities. I know I had that any other musician could have. So you just latching onto that stuff. Just a family guy, and I love God. I love people.
Great. And I think we were kind of talking the last time we met face to face. I've been following you, been friends, Facebook, social media, been following your adventures and this and that. And I know you're a busy guy and a family guy, like I am. And last time we met face to face was back at the Warrant concert back in Dardanelle. And I think you guys had just got off the stage.
Oh yeah, yeah.
What was that experience like?
Well, it was bittersweet. I mean, here we are getting to play a show with some of my childhood heroes, and of course, at the same time, the former lead singer J.D. Lang had just passed away, and it was kind of bittersweet. And we were on the Save a Life tour for McKenna Renard, who was a 13-year-old, just a beautiful creation of God that was fighting a battle with leukemia, and we were in the middle of that, and we got a good report on her diagnosis. Her cancer had dropped down to about a 10 to 15%. We were riding high on that, and it was mixed, a lot of mixed emotions. And I don't get home. Russellville's home.
Yeah.
And that's the first time that I can remember playing in Russellville for several years. And in the Russellville area, I think we're actually in Dardanelle, but in that home area, and it was just, I don't know, it was really cool to be on that ticket. I mean, we had, Sharp Dunaway and the Meanies and some of those boys, and the lead singer for them, Danny Millsap, he's my cousin. I mean, we don't get too far from home on stuff.
Because I know it's different playing shows about, wherever else in the U.S., but when you come back home, it's kind of like you can almost, kind of like the walls kind of come down and you can relax, and, you can open up a little bit more when you're home. Because on the road, you always have that, like, I don't know, you just have the element between you and the people. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost as I mean, the goal, it is two different aspects. One is the issue of the fact that you have that, people know who you are, and they're there to support you, and they're glad you came home, and you'll have some of the people that have known you since you were a kid come up to you and say, how come you guys don't play here more often? And that coincides with, I guess, kind of the flip side of things, like you were saying, is you go out and you see some strangers, and of course we do have some small followings here and there, and we're making it work, and it's I mean, life's been good to me. Music has been good to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been good to my family, but it's it's I don't know, something about meeting new people. There's a different barrier.
Yeah. When
you walk out on that stage, you have to say, you know what, I have to connect with these people. I have to open myself up, and it's like songwriting. I mean, you're a musician. I mean, you're an incredible guitar player. It's
a sense of being in front of people, and kind of you feel like you're naked in front of people because you are.
I mean, you are. And I'm totally in my private life. I'm totally a recluse. Yeah. I mean, I am happy sitting at home with my wife and my kids and playing old school ladies Nintendo or Atari or something. And that's that's not very rock star, but that's who we are. I mean, that's what we do. And and then when you get out there in front of people, it's sometimes it sets you back, but I've always had this idea that people come to a live venue. Some of them want to party, some of them want to, for various reasons, or to see their friends or whatever, but you have an opportunity to speak into that person's life.
Yeah.
And it's actually a privilege. Opportunity is the wrong word. It's a privilege to be able to stand on a stage and have people's attention, and whether you're playing 45 minutes or 2.5 hours, it's just you see people change as the set goes on, and you see people embrace you, and love one another, man. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
And,
now, is that kind of like the theme of the band McEwen? Is that part of the, I guess you would say, your goal or your mission?
Well, I would say that the band's mission is to let people know that life doesn't have to be as hard as we're told it's supposed to be, and that there's always hope. If you have air in your lungs, and there's always hope. And I guess it's just, we write a lot of songs about love, about experience, and that's kind of cliche. I know a lot of bands do that, but for us, it's an issue of saying, hey, none of us are alone. I mean, it's like when I was a kid and got to listen to my heroes and Warrant, for instance, and they released Cherry Pie, and wow, it was incredible. And then they released songs like Sometimes She Cries and various things that just hit me when I was, in my teen years.
Yeah.
And your only hope is that the greatest experience I've ever had on a stage is people singing your songs back to you. And I know a lot of musicians say that, but it's a very humbling, very humbling experience.
Because they're taking your words, and you're giving them value, and them by singing it back just like underlines everything that you just you work to accomplish.
Yeah, it's confirmation that says, hey, you're at least on the right track, and people ask me all the time, I said, you think you've made it? I'm like, I don't even know what made it means. I mean, you don't set out this day and age to make it in the business. You set out, I mean, some people do, but you should, in my opinion, which is worth nothing, but I'm just saying we set out to hopefully find common ground with people. Yeah, I mean, just looking for that interaction. We don't isolate ourselves. If you come buy a McEwen T-shirt, you're going to buy it from. Some of us are going to be down there in the booth. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, it's not a. It's not a. The boys would say I'm the biggest diva of the bunch, I guess, because I don't do sound checks well. I would rather just get up to the mic and go for it. You know, yeah. And but it's
some days you have your good nights and others your bad.
Well, sometimes you just the show's not going like it's supposed to. And sometimes if the crowd's not interacting or they're not, it's my responsibility to give 100%, whether it's 10 people or 10,000. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what it's a dual. We meet in the middle. The crowd and the band meets at the front of that stage.
Yeah. Now, what was your last project in McEwen? When was that?
The last one we did was the Hollywood record. We had we just released a song called Hollywood, and I was just kind of sitting around one night on the guitar, and I can remember the very first time I ever went out to the West Coast, and I didn't have my family with me or anything, and it was, you know, there's all the hype and the fun and the party or whatever you want to call it, and then you get back to the hotel or on the bus or whatever, and you're lonely. I mean, it's just you.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of pinned this song kind of along those emotions, and it ended up being the title track to the record. We didn't go in to produce a record that was called Hollywood. That's just kind of how it came out in post-production. And
you got a nickname out of that. Is that right?
We got I did. Yeah, I got a huge nickname out of that. We went into, as a matter of fact, the weekend after I saw you, we went to Los Angeles and played the Whiskey, and then we went and got to meet the Butcher Babies. We're doing their first show in Los Angeles, and we got to go hang out with them and meet some people. And we went out the next day to play McKenna's 13th birthday. And then but after, the coolest thing that happened out there, and where that Hollywood nickname came from, is we went out to eat after the Whiskey show, and went out, and I was eating a steak at years ago, back in 2010, I think, eating a steak at the Rainbow Room, and this guy comes up and he says, "Are you guys McEwen? Are you McEwen?" I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "We want you to be on Crew Fest."
Wow.
So, and we had so we were ready to sign up and get going and get on out there. And we had a couple of issues with a couple of band members had some personal things going on and family things and personal things. And we ended up coming on back to the house and working out the Crew Fest deal here and there and keeping up relations with them. And here's this just Southern Arkansas boy that went out to Los Angeles with a whole lot of guys that are incredibly talented musicians, and we were in there just big old corn-fed boys, you know. And so we come back and they said, you went out there, nobody thought we'd have any success whatsoever, just be another nail in the hat, and got invited to all of this huge stuff and made some great contacts. And so they started saying, "Man, McEwen just went out there and became Hollywood, did you?" I said, "No, not hardly, man. I can't take any real credit for that. I have to give most of that credit to like Chris Moran and Posix. You know, Posix was still playing bass for me at the time, and those guys are from there. They're from the West Coast, and they had family out there, and we flew into Chicago, and half of our band had never even flown before.
Wow.
So
you got
from Chicago to, it was wild. We have a different lineup now.
Oh, you do?
And,
okay.
Posix Fossick has some medical problems. He had some back injuries, and I always told him, I said, man, you've got to stop bailing off the stage, jumping off the stage with that bass.
Yeah.
He was wireless, and ended up having some back trouble. He ended up having some spinal fusions, and
wow.
He's currently McEwen's business manager. He's still very much a part of everything that he's still locked in. And we have Chris Moran is still with me. Chris the Man Moran.
Nice.
New guy we call Slinky, Dale Qualls. He's a beast on guitar. And then we have on bass J. Ray White, which does all backup vocals and shares some lead vocals with me on some of the new stuff, which
that'd be good.
That's awesome. It's coming together really well. And then I have the one and only, the most perfect woman in the world, second to my wife, Angie Crow. She's playing drums for me, and she is
cool.
She's incredible. And she came out of the country scene, so to be in the rock element, she's having a ball. She's having a blast.
Yeah.
But that's the new lineup we're on right now.
That's nice. And you guys are in the studio or recording?
We're in the studio. We've been spending several weeks in the studio between rehearsals, and we are, I would say, we're 3/4 done with tracking the record and the new record. It's
do you have
we got
a name?
the working title, Moment of Clarity, and
nice.
We're working on some stuff like that. It's just, you know how that goes. I mean, it's a process, and you want to take your time and do it right. And
yeah, because a lot of times you get a finished project and you go back and you always, even though you think it's polished, you always hear stuff that you missed.
Oh yes. Oh, you got to be your own worst. You got to be your own worst critic.
Yeah. Because I've listened.
Got to be your own worst critic.
Yeah, listen to things and there's mistakes in there, and you think, man, I don't know how that going slid by, but nobody else notices. So you're like, well, if you guys like it, I'm fine with it.
That's kind of how I have to do. Like when I get done with vocals, I always look in the booth and I'm like, is that okay, or do I need to do it again? Or that? And of course, we just kind of leave ego at the door.
Yeah.
I have this. Well, I don't have the saying, but I've adopted this saying. I couldn't tell you who said it first, but I believe that great songs aren't written, they're rewritten.
Yeah.
And I can sit down and write the greatest song, in my opinion, the greatest song I've ever written. But I take it to the studio and get engineers on it and get people listening to it, and it becomes something better. It becomes something more. And you got to have that. You got to have that humility. If you want to be successful in the business, you have to have that humility that says, I'm willing to trust, not relinquish control necessarily or rights. That's not what I mean, but I'm willing to trust the people I work with enough to let them, lend their ear to it.
Yeah, because you want to have good people around you that's honest with what you're doing, not just somebody that wants to take your dollar for studio hours.
I mean, that's right. I always tell the boys and our producers, I was like, we'll know immediately if we want to do business with these people, because they'll either blow smoke up us, or they'll say, or they're trying to sell something, or then they'll, it's funny in the business how bands who have been playing for a while, they don't recognize somebody else trying to sell them something.
Yeah.
Because you have
that
to.
That happens multiple times a day.
Oh man, it's terrible, and a lot of great musicians get taken for a lot of money and don't really get anything out of it, and because we're in the business of sales. I mean, that's the success. The only real success I've ever found in the industry wasn't. It can't be measured by money. It can't be measured by shows. It can't be measured by. What it is, in my opinion, measured by is just stop the facade and just be who you are.
Yeah.
And I know there's a certain, rock star element to getting on that stage, and a certain performance element, and I get it.
You still got to be yourself, because it's going to be organic.
You got to be. You're right. That's the perfect word, man. That is the perfect word, organic. And of course, all these people, this crew, they've been in this business for many, many years, and
Mm-hmm.
they've all been playing. I'm going to get some emails later, probably, or something, because I'm going to give away ages. But we've all been in this business 15 years or more.
Wow.
And it's just a.
That's a lot to be thankful for. The 15 years, in a business like that.
They weren't all successful years.
Mm-hmm. But then again, you're still there, and so
we're still there.
Yeah.
And what happened is I stopped trying to put bands together.
Uh-huh.
I started in 2003. I started just going under the McEwen name. And that way, if somebody got mad or something happened or there was a falling out or a disagreement, that position could be replaced and we could keep moving forward.
Oh, yeah. 'Cause that's one of the things I was going to ask you about is, coming up in bands, you see like Brothers Van Halen and other bands, with that, hey, they have family or they carry the lead singer's name, guitar player's name, is how
right.
It's a tough gig to get people to play under your name.
You have to. I was fortunate of course, I do have one reputation I'm very proud of. I don't like talking about reputations much because they can be misinterpreted. But
yeah,
one of the reputations that we've so far had is that McEwen's never put a bad product on stage.
Yeah.
We've had some albums that bombed, and we've had some songs. We've had albums that bombed, and the songs got incredible. We had the second record we did was we just kind of called it the Red Album because we didn't have a name for it, but there was a song on there called Broken, and I got a call from Posix the next morning after we released that song, or maybe it was 2 days, and he says, "You're not going to believe this. We've had over 83,000 downloads on that song, but we didn't sell a lot of records record. But it's just funny how things happen. So
mm-hmm.
I got to that point to where why am I in the business? Why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself out there? Because
mm-hmm.
anytime you put yourself out there for public life, for every comment that is good, you might have two that are bad.
Yeah, people
you got to be really thick-skinned.
Scrutinize you. Yeah,
yeah, and that's of course I have this idea within myself. It's kind of one of my mottos. Is the personal belief is that the creator of the universe lives on the inside of me. How is it that I can be so easily offended or knocked over? And I just don't. I don't allow things to affect me as much.
Yeah, we're just human. When it
yeah,
comes
we
down
are.
to
We're all human.
Yeah.
We all bleed red, man,
Uh-huh.
and it's not about people come. It was so funny. Chucky D, Chucky D, who used to do, he was on KLAZ, and there in Hot Springs,
mm-hmm.
and we were playing a show years and years ago, and he comes up to me, and I had a Leonard Skinner belt buckle on. Okay, I didn't think nothing about it. I didn't think nothing about the rebel flag being on. I didn't think. He comes up to me and goes, "Can I have that belt buckle?" I said, "Well, sure, you can have it." And anyway, we started laughing and become a big joke. And I said, "Here, don't hit me with it. My bad." And he said, No. And we started this relationship to where now we tell everybody that we're twin brothers, that we're twins. Yeah? And I'm an Irish white, and he's beautiful black, man. He tells me, he says, "Yeah, that's my twin. I'm his twin." And we it could have been I just didn't think about it at the time. Years ago, man. It's amazing how the world's changed in 10 years.
It all comes from the point of view of the person and what's in their heart is what gives something meaning like that. And you guys gave it a different meaning.
Well, and that's the thing. I didn't wear it for. I just my God, every time you ever play a venue, somebody's screaming "Freebird." Yeah. And I work because it said Leonard Skinner, not because it's how we approach and deal with one another.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that like you asked me the first question, how do you want to be remembered? Well, let's treat other people like we want to be treated.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Show respect and decency, But
now wrapping up that current project, and you said it's called Moment of Clarity.
Moment of Clarity is what we're working on. There's a song called Clarity on the record, but we're calling the record of Moment of Clarity. Jay White, who is, well, he's our bass player. Everybody I've been on stage with, that's on that stage with me, is they've been through something. You know, they've overcome something. I'm really proud of J. Ray White because he's overcome a lengthy drug addiction. He's clean, he's sober.
That's good.
He's and he wrote this song called Moment of Clarity, actually Clarity. And we just got to talking about the lyrics to that song, and I think the lyrics are, despite insanity, love was shown to me, and healing winds, they blew the haze away, and it just talks about people being there for you and people really caring for you and helping you through addiction and temptation and things like that. So he actually said, Greg, I'd love for the record to be called Moment of Clarity. And I said, brother, I can't argue with that. That's what I told him. I said, brother, I can't argue with that.
That's good.
And so that's where we're at, because we all get, we all break into our 40s. We kind of, I think the 4-0, which I'm well past that, but the 4-0 is a moment of clarity. It's like, well, and I watch, I keep up with you online too, and watch your Instagram and stuff, and what you're doing to promote physical health and mental health and just inspiring people, man. I know this is your interview, but don't want to overstep my bounds, but I got to praise you for that for a second, man. I mean,
I appreciate it.
I respect what you do, and you can always tell when you're standing there with the people that you're engaged with in your life, and it's kind of the same thing about what you were going with about how did I get people to get on board with the McEwen concept, or the McEwen idea. You're not selling it. You're presenting a healthy idea of a lifestyle, and it's easy to sell a rock and roll lifestyle. Those can be fabricated. Those can be pushed out. Man, I've been guilty of that in my younger days, selling it.
And we always had those, when we was a kid. That's what you thought it was. So
sure,
and that's what they taught us.
Right, and that's right. Until we had those experiences, we didn't realize that. Wow, that's really not how it was. And I can tell you, the loneliest I've ever been in my life is playing in front of thousands and thousands of people, and then getting back on the bus and being in a little bunk that's kind of like a coffin, and you're just laying there and you're by yourself, and you miss your family, and you miss it's an hour or two of
isolation.
I mean, it shuts you down. You get that hour on stage of euphoric drug-like experience, and then you're wired up. You come back to the bus. And
it's that 0 to 100 and 100 back to 0.
That's like an Oklahoma speed limit, man. That's right.
Some people can't handle that.
10, man. No, they can't. And but that's the thing. And so all you got to do is I look at your social media, and I see the faces of the people you're taking pictures with that are involved with your business and what you're doing. And man, it's all over their faces. They're proud of their accomplishments, and they're proud of the things they've got, and I recognize that. And that's kind of the same thing with the music business. I mean, you're not selling something. You're not trying to be fake. People are tired of buying fake.
Yeah,
stuff.
They want you to be authentic. And when we talked about that, I can totally relate. Being authentic, and we talk about improving people's lives, because I would, I like to see people improve or, help somebody out that needs to be helped, that's sincere about it.
Well, before we move on topic, let me share this story real quick. We played at Crosswalk in Hot Springs. It's been a couple months ago. First show McEwen has done, or McEwen with the band. I've continued to play pretty much nonstop with my piano and guitars and stuff, cancer benefits and whatever. But the full-on band, it's really the first real show we've done in, about 8 years. First time we played in Hot Springs in about 8 years. Anyway, I was doing one of our we have the song called Statue, the piano song. Everybody calls it the piano song because they don't know the name of it. And if we don't play it, I get nasty emails. Why didn't you play that song? So we put it in the set. And this lady comes up to me, which a lot of people don't know this. This was on the record from 2007. A lot of people don't know this, but I wrote that from the perspective of, like, Christ to us. Like,
oh, really?
What does he see? Yeah, what does he see when he looks at me? Does he think, does he look at me, and am I the type of person that just kind of puts him up on a shelf as a reminder that he's there if I need him, or do I just, or is it somebody, and so that's kind of the premise of the song. Well, this young lady come up to me, most amazing experience of my life so far. It's not the crowds, it's not the venues, it's not, but this lady comes up to me and she said, Greg, I got to tell you something. She didn't know me from anybody, and she was headed to the track. We're right across from Oaklawn there.
Yeah.
And she said, my plan was tonight, I was going to gamble everything else I had, drink up everything I had all my pill bottles laid out, and was going home to finish it off.
Wow.
She said, I was going down the sidewalk and hadn't crossed the street yet. She heard me singing. She didn't know me from anybody, didn't know the song. She came in there, she hung out for a while, she came out after the show, and we had a great conversation about Christ, and just, her life got changed that night.
That's great.
So, man, it's just, it's an opportunity thing, and I'm not this, I don't consider myself religious. I consider myself a child of God who's been blessed.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm not going to argue with anybody about beliefs, and because people, man, this is the greatest country in the world. People have the right to disagree, and people have the right to express whatever opinion they want to. Yeah. And but it's moments like that.
Yeah, it's a blessing to be able to do that, and then be able to tell the story about it. Because when you have a moment, you're able to share the story. You touch that many more people.
Yeah, and that's what I thought. I thought, man, how many people, when I was so wrapped up in myself back in the day, how many people were, did the music touch and reach that I don't even know about?
Yeah.
And it's even more fuel to why we keep doing what we're doing, even though we're getting older and fatter and broken and, that kind of thing. But,
yeah, because there's usually, if one person or whoever needs to hear that word, either that day or on down the line, they may discover it at some point and, make a difference, even if they don't know
right.
you.
It becomes their divine appointment.
Yeah.
And, that's huge.
That's cool. And then that kind of leads over into, we talk about band and McEwen and playing rock and roll and this and that, and, touching people with that. And you have another project that you went on with, you have a ministry.
I do. Right now it's just hashtag outside the walls. I've pastored churches. I've spoken churches. My father was a minister for 52 years before he passed, and I grew up. I'm a PK, I grew up a preacher's kid, and if there's two bad kids in the community, it's the preacher's kid and the sheriff's kid, and
yeah.
So I was no angel. I had to grow out of that entitled idea of, I was somebody special and different from somebody else, which is not true, But I don't know. I got frustrated with the church as far as not necessarily the belief system, but the religious control,
politics.
You have to be, it's politics, and you have to be perfect. And my goodness, man, if any human being had the capability of being perfect, we wouldn't need grace.
I know.
So I thought, I need to take this outside the walls. And I'm not the one that started that. Somebody, thank God you can't trademark or copyright a hashtag,
That's for sure.
So maybe you can. I don't know. I might get a letter from a lawyer after this, but it's all good. We started filming. My wife April started filming me speaking, and all of a sudden we've got first week it was like 100 people, and then there's 200 and 300, and I think our highest numbers have been 450 something people logged on watching live.
Oh man, that's cool.
And all over the world, man, people have been from Norway. They've been sending me messages like, "How can I support your?" I got a message from the Philippines that said, "Are you the same McEwen I hear on the radio here?" And I said, "Yes, that's me.
That's awesome.
Is that okay?" She was like, "That is incredible." And so I saw an opportunity to not target, but to be available to an audience that would probably never set foot in any church. I grew up in church, and that's who I am. And
I remember seeing you do the tours, and I remember you having the speaking engagements and things like that.
Yeah.
I was like, man, what's going on here? And I'm like, following you, which places you're going, and the audience is getting bigger. And
man, I had a life-changing experience with McKenna. When McKenna passed, we flew out to San Diego, and I wrote that song for her, and I didn't realize how big Carry You Home had gotten in a certain area of the West Coast. And so I flew in and sang and played that song at her memorial service and at her funeral. And I had like 200 or 300. They had it's big high schools out there. Big. They put it in an auditorium, and it was like, I don't know, 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 kids in there. And we're at the table afterwards, and I bet at least 200 to 300 kids would come by, and they would either like hug me or shake my hand or something. And my question was the same to all of them. I said, "So how did you know McKenna?" And every one of them would say, "Oh, well, she talked to me about Jesus, or she led me to Christ, or 13-year-old girl dying with cancer."
Yeah.
So I get on the plane ride home, and I just kind of felt this stirring inside me. It's almost like, it's almost like God was saying, "Now what are you going to do?" And that changed my life, changed my thinking, changed my perspective on what, and this is at the end of 2010, and a lot of changes going on, and a lot of opportunities in front of me. And we got the call to play Rocklahoma, and in Pryor, Oklahoma, over there. They have a huge festival over there. And
yeah,
I don't know. I just, oh man, it was just huge opportunity, huge honor. And I didn't know, I was just kind of lost in life at the time. Nobody really knew it. Nobody really knew what was going on. And I thought, what if here I am so absorbed in myself that I can't see past the nose on my face. And I've been blessed with these gifts of music, and music is a ministry, no matter what you're using it for.
Yeah.
I mean, the individual can use it for whatever they choose to use it, but those gifts came from a source that they can't. They have no idea. Most of us have no idea about.
Because if you don't use them, they'll be taken away.
You don't use them. And so it boiled down to, I had to make a decision on who I wanted to be, what kind of person I wanted to be. So I started reaching out to people, and I had, all of a sudden, there's just the floodgates open. And that's like posting pictures. Everybody's calling me like, "Hey, you need to fly me around on your jets." I'm like, I don't own any jets. I don't own any jets. I mean, the times I have flown or do fly, it's because somebody else is wanting me to be somewhere. It's not like, for the record, Greg McCuin does not have a jet parked in his driveway. But I have access to things if I need it, emergencies or stuff. But it's just I have pilots in the family, if that explains it. There are a lot of people that know how to fly, but I don't know, man. It just I hurt for people who hurt, and just trying to. You don't want to force something on them, but this outside the walls movement was, let's get out of the church and let's get where people live.
Yeah.
Let's get where people are. Let's love one another where they're at, And I'm not trying to get preachy and or anything, but what I'm saying is, last time I checked, we didn't have to approve of everybody's way of life. But we do have to accept them because they have the God-given freedom to live their lives however they want to.
Yeah, and that's the term I was trying to think of. It's like being a missionary. You're taking it outside and you're going to where, you think people need it, or where you normally wouldn't get to, the people that don't come inside to see it.
You make yourself an ambassador. You're an ambassador for the kingdom, and it's like you make yourself available. You don't shove it down people's throat. You just make yourself available.
Yeah,
Same thing with music, really. I mean, now the radio stations, I know the airplay I know that, but I mean, when you go live, I don't walk up to people that don't approach me, and if I don't know them. If somebody's walking up to me and I see them and I see them kind of looking at me and they don't know what to say, obviously they're close enough to me, they want to interact, then I'll extend a hand, but I'm not going to go try to get in somebody's business. And I think it's just a way of life, whether it's music or ministry or...
And I think it's the opportunity also, because they'll present the opportunity. If there's something a word or anything that they need to hear, that door is going to be open to you, and you'll see the opportunity and walk through the door.
I think it's discernment. You're right. I think it has to do with discernment, and it's an issue of saying, I've got people I absolutely love and adore and would do anything for that are atheists or agnostic.
Yeah.
But I would never in my life ostracize them or tell them they're less of a person because they don't agree with me. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where we really have failed, not getting political because I'm going to end this conversation really quick. That's where we failed as a nation, is we just kind of stopped accepting. We don't have to agree with one another, but I have to accept the right that you have even if you say something that bothers me, you still have the right to say it. And I should be strong enough to not let it bother me and get on with life.
Yeah, and it's those people that want to, and I think it's not all intentional by some, but some I know it is intentional just to pick at you, but they can't choose their battle. They won't, if they hear anything specific, they have to battle over it and see that they have to win the battle. And
that's so right. And that's really, you just summed it up, man. It's a, I was taught as a kid growing up, pick your battles, son. I come home with a black eye, and Daddy would say, well, you shouldn't have picked that battle, or some kind of thing. It's just life lessons. And now there's this idea that everybody's a victim. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I'm not.
It's like the band I heard it referred to as the Godsmack.
oh man, oh.
So you gotta look. You get smacked. You better beware. Something's happening.
Something is going on it's attention getters. Yeah. Now I get a lot of flack because one time I was speaking at this event and I said when it comes to that scripture that Christ said, turn the other cheek. If someone, slaps you, turn it. I said, well, my interpretation of that, whether correct or incorrect, is to see if they were dumb enough to hit him again. Yeah. So I'll forgive you, but get away from me. Yeah. And sometimes that's what forgiveness is. You have to turn the page. Sometimes loving people is just getting away from them because you have to, oh man, nothing but to love them, but humans, nothing but to love them. So nowhere, anywhere is there any law or rule that I have to like somebody, but I should, as a human being, love one another, and even with that, it's a respect thing, and I'm one of those guys that trust and respect. I guess I'm flip-flopped because to me, trust and respect, it's not earned, it's given. I give you my trust and I give you my respect. Now, what you do with it, that's going to determine whether you get to keep it or not. Mm-hmm. So love and respect, I don't think they're earned. I think they're gifts. Yeah. And I may be wrong. Once again, that's just my opinion. Mm-hmm. But if I give you respect so therefore I owe every human being in the world automatically, I should respect them to begin with. Yeah. And if they do something to compromise that respect, then that's a different story.
Yeah, does ministry side, does it kind of influence your band as far as like lyrical content sometimes, or do y'all all write the songs together?
We all I hate to use the word policed. It's not policed. It's not policed. What I do is I present. If I write something, I present it to the band and I say, "Hey, does this speak collectively for us?" Although it may say McEwen on the stage, but when I introduce the band, I introduce them and then I say, "My name is Greg, and these guys are McEwen. Good night." So it's if they're going to be up there representing that name and that, the rules aren't different for me just because it's my last name.
Yeah.
And so it's only fair that I present material, and sometimes they'll go, "What does this line mean? What do you say in there? Or did you say this or say that?" And okay, let me clear this up. None of us are saints. Okay, yeah. We're not anything like that. But they'll ask, "What does this mean? What does that mean?" And if it's something that they relate to, then they'll go, "Huh, that makes sense."
Yeah,
I can see where somebody else can relate to that.
I can see fans, they know you do this, and you have this certain belief, and then they hear your songs, and then they see behavior, and they'll try and pigeonhole you as this certain person, and then you're living inside a box.
Right, and that's the thing.
And you're setting yourself up for failure because you let the bad side in, and people will tear you down for little just small things. They'll pick you apart for it.
Well, you have to be. I think the secret is knowing who you are.
Yeah.
I don't. Nowhere in the Bible does God call believers Christians. Human beings call human beings Christians. God called believers sons and daughters, citizens, and ambassadors for His kingdom. So
you see what happened in like bands like Creed and things like that. People label them as you're this type of band, and they fell apart.
Well, that's the thing. We are McEwen, but we're 5 separate entities.
Yeah,
and we're 5 separate people, and they have different beliefs, and they different. The idea of, well, you can only be in my clique or be on stage with me if you agree with me, is part of the definition of a bigger worldwide problem in politics, almost, that says, well, you can only be part of this party or my party or this and that if you agree with me. And it boils down to, really, no matter what you're talking about or what the topic is, it boils down to common decency and respect for one another.
Yeah.
And that's the clique. First and foremost, we had to find 2 things. Before you even get out of the practice house, you have to actually somewhat before you even get into the practice house, you have to find 2 things. A, you have to come up with some type of personality chemistry. You have to be able to be on the road with people that when you want to kill them, for lack of better words, and I don't mean literally kill them, but you have the decency and respect to say, "Look, I need a break from you.
Yeah,
get away from me." And nobody take it personal. Yeah, just give me some time. And it's just a common decency, and we've really lost that in the world. So that's the one thing. The second thing is, you have to have a basic common denominator that says, I am willing to make sacrifices because this is what I want to do with my life. And it's really no different than a welder, if you put a welding torch in my hand, man, I would mess it up so bad. A pro couldn't fix it. But, and vice versa. We all have specific assignments and gifts, and it just boils down to being yourself, being who you are. And sometimes we go through life and we have to have people in our lives that we have to be accountable to. Because those people that you surround yourself with, what's the old cliche? You kind of are who you surround yourself with, and that kind of thing. So I have a group of I have a group of band, family, and church. My brother pastors the Bridge Church in Cabot. They're very successful. He's on TBN or whatever it is. He's a we don't see eye to eye on everything, but he's my big brother, and but I have to be the same person, whether I'm standing in front of people I can say anything in front of, whether I'm standing in front of people that might be offended by me saying the same thing that I said in the band room.
Yeah.
So, and I've gotten some flack on that. Yeah, I've gotten some flack over that, and I can't stop being who I am because that would be the biggest betrayal.
Yeah, don't stop being who you are, because if you're, I mean, what I kind of say, you're one way, and one way means you're one way with everybody that you meet. It's not like two-faced. Right. Or three-faced. No,
I'm not gonna. Yeah, I have no problem. I have no problem walking off the stage from one of our rock shows and walking up to somebody and inviting them to church. I got no issue with that. And people, it's the religious, idealistic way that says, "Oh no," it's religion that sets boundaries on people. God says you're free. I set you free. Be free. Live free. And that's between whoever the individual is and their creator. It's wrong for other people to say you can't do that because, in my opinion, it's ungodly. Well, that other person has no idea what I'm going through. So,
and there's probably a million different things that they're doing themselves or anybody else that's doing, because you're not going to be perfect in the world, and to hold somebody to perfection is just
and that's the thing. We were both. I don't know if you still are or not, but we were both cops for a long time. Yeah, right. I mean, that's how we first met. We were police officers, and I put 20 years in that game and trying to enforce this idea of, and I'm not nothing against the law. That's not what I mean. But it is an idea. It's an idea system that says I'm here to try to do everything I can to help you. But if you won't let me help you, I have to either get away from you or let you suffer the consequences of your own choice. Yeah. And it's not a pleasant life. It wasn't. It was a rewarding life here, 1 out of 10, Yeah. But it's an issue of understanding to where you have to learn to deal with people almost on their level sometimes, to where, and I don't mean like lowering yourself to their level, but you can't communicate with, if someone's angry and they're already angry and they have their mind made up that they don't like you, you're not going to be able to communicate with that individual if they're not going to be willing to communicate with you. It's once again, it's common decency. Yeah. So I think that all I'm trying to do is get past that religious mindset from, let's say, just the most cliche, the bar and the church house, because you have the same hypocrites in the church house that you do in the bar. Yeah. I mean, people are just, so the goal is really to get past that hypocritical type to where it says, you know what, we may not agree with everything Greg says or does, but he's always Greg. And there will be eventually there's a respect that comes out of that. Your enemies, they may not like you, they may talk bad about you, but they'll respect you. Yeah.
I think we both experienced that, in our professions. They may not agree with you at the time, but they know that you meant your words and you were always, truthful with them. And if you ever, weren't truthful, that's right, they make you pay for it.
Yeah, and and they will, and that's why I finally just, because some people you can't say anything to, and they already have their mind made up, and that's okay. They have the free will to do it. That's why I adopted that saying, like I said at the beginning of this conversation, is the motto is, it's only bad press if they spell my name wrong. So the funny story is when we got to the whiskey, the go-go, I've been saying that for a long time. And Posix he comes inside. We're getting ready to load in the sound check, and Posix comes in and says, "Greg, you're not going to believe this." I said, "What?" I thought he was going to tell us, like, they booked us on the wrong night or something. He said they misspelt your name on the marquee of the whiskey. And I thought, oh my God, what do you mean? I think they put a Q in it or something. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
He said, you got to go. He said, we got to fix that, man, because that's going to mess up your motto. I don't care about the motto. He made them crawl up there and take the Q out and spell it MCCON. So then they started taking pictures of the marquee. It's just funny that no matter, it just goes to show that no matter how great a motto, of the grandest stage of them all, they misspelt my name and had to fix it.
Yeah.
But, I'm good enough sport to laugh about it, man.
Yeah, but they'll remember it. That's a good way to remember you.
It's all good.
Uh-huh. Now, let's talk about who you said that we got a new lineup. You want to shout out the names that you may already have, the members of the new band?
Yeah, I mentioned them. That's okay, I'll be happy to shout them out all night. This is the crew that makes it happen. I mean, these people are incredible. Of course, Chris the Man Moran, who was with me on the Hollywood tour, and he's been with me for a decade now, and he's back on lead guitar. Him and Dale Slinky Qualls, they trade off rhythm and lead, so they're both they're both superpowers, and it's a real testament to how two amazing guitar players can put ego and all this other crap aside and work together for a project and
share a stage.
Then Jay Ray, he's I've been wanting to play with Jay Ray for years, but he always had issues and some problems, and he's not shy about it. I mean, he'll tell you, and but ever since he got clean, it happened. He is one of the, if not one of the best background gritty rock vocalists I've ever heard. And where I'm more of a clean vocalist, he has some of that grit, and it just adds this dynamic. And then Chris finally got Chris to step up to a mic and doing some backups too. I don't know if you remember at the Warren show, we loved Aerosmith and covers here and there. We were all original band, but we like throwing a couple of covers in for fun, and we'd get ready to do Sweet Emotion, and I'd interact with the crowd, and I'd make him play that intro, which is actually supposed to be done on bass, but we had him doing it on guitar. Well, I'd interact with the crowd for 7-8 minutes and just make him play that riff forever. So we'd go over, and when we started singing Sweet Emotion, start over there, and I'd go over by him and put the mic in his mouth. And he started singing, and sometimes he hated me, and sometimes it was good, and I'd tell him, and this is 8 years ago. I'd say, "Look, man, you can do it. You got this." And now he's a full-fledged backup vocalist on probably at least four of the songs on the record, and
that's cool.
He come into himself. It's really cool, and then him and Jay just fulfill the dynamic of vocally, and then Angie, she's just incredible on drums. She is I don't know, she's solid. She's like a drum machine that you don't have to push. If you're recording with a drum machine, you have to push your fills.
Yeah.
She's like this perfect tempo setter, but then right in the middle of it, she'll just come up with some kind of pop that she creates pockets.
That's nice. And especially since you're coming off country, because that's a little bit of different feel for the drums. So.
Well, and she even said this one time in our in rehearsal. She goes, "How come I ain't been playing rock and roll my whole life?" Or something like that. I mean, but she is, and also a shout out. I mean, our manager, Herschel Pittman, man, he works his tail end off for us, and Benny works sound for us. Ed Lacera works sound for us, and Christy Davis is my agent. Without her, I don't know what would happen. Probably without her, my wife would have already strangled me. She's just become this kind of angel in our family that she don't handle McEwen business. She's just Greg business, kind of Greg McCuin business stuff, and
that's good.
And but she's been a lifesaver because I'm getting older. My brain's broke, and I can't remember what I'm supposed to do. She'll lay out an itinerary for me, or she'll text me that I'm supposed to be here at this time and all this.
And doing
Make sure I stay the track, stay the course, you know. And but heaven forbid I respond to her. I know, no, not going to do that. But it's just a whole crew, and we have a really good crew this time. I mean, a lot of new faces. Nice. Behind the scenes and people working, and they
because sometimes you think it's just a few people in a band, or just specifically the band members, when there's a lot of people working behind the scene to make things happen.
We have my lucky number is 13.
Oh yeah.
So we have 13 people in the McEwen camp.
Oh, nice.
So
nice round number.
It's a perfect round number to me. But 12 tribes. I guess the Gentiles become the 13th. I don't know, man. Well, you can put any spin you want to on it. That may be incorrect, but it's I don't know. I just have always we bought sports jerseys. Now, don't hold this against me. I'm a Jets fan. Okay. Oh, yeah, I expected a click.
Oh no!
No, I'm kidding.
If anybody's a fan of anybody, I'll respect that. I don't make fun.
Well,
of
I'm a Jets fan and a Predators fan. You know, hockey and football. So the wife ordered us personalized jerseys. Well, my son, he was 5 when he got his. He was a Falcons fan. So, but all of our different team jerseys have 13 on them, and they say McEwen on the back. You know, so we're all rooting for different teams on Sunday, and it's funny. But we put that number. We put that number on our 13 bloodlines. I mean, we'll put that number on our everything we do.
That's good.
And it's cool. It's become that. That's and the only other weird habit we have.
Still there?
That and the only other weird habit we have is we put our Christmas tree up on November 4th.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, my son, which he's fixing to be 19. We've always put it up on his birthday, and his birthday's November 4th.
Oh, so okay. That's cool.
He's in Salt Lake City somewhere working now, but that's about as weird as I get, man. I don't know, but 13 and Christmas tree up. Of course, I have a wife that we met April. Her favorite holiday is Christmas. So how dare, yeah. But we're almost to Halloween. We'll get past that.
I mean, the Thanksgiving and the rest of the year, and then we'll do it over again.
Time for Christmas movies and all that family stuff. I'm most proud of my family, bro. I mean, that's where it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you can't, that's where your legacy, Daddy.
Yeah, because family is home.
Man, my dad they diagnosed him with cancer, and they gave him 6 months to live. Well, 5 years later, 5.5 years later, he had a stroke, and it was a stroke that got him. The cancer never got him, but they gave him 6 months to live, and he said, wasn't theirs to give. Yeah. And he come out of that first surgery. And my father had never, ever had pain medicine or anything like that before in his life. He's from the way old school, you know. He didn't believe in that kind of stuff. We come out of that surgery, and he said, he's telling that nurse, he said, he made a statement I'll never forget. He said, one of these days when I'm gone, everything I own will belong to somebody else, with the exception of my children.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, wisdom, you know. And
that's a big
so
thought.
one of these days, the McEwen empire, if there ever is one, will likely belong mostly to somebody else. But nobody can take away the fact that that my kids are my kids.
Yeah.
I kind of see God in that, you know, because nothing can change the fact that I believe what I believe.
You are who you are. I am what I am.
That's it. That's it. There it is, right there.
So, and do you guys have a website where people can check you out?
We have, I think right now everything's running through Reverb Nation.
Oh, it is? Okay.
ReverbNation.com. We've got the McEwen Band page, Facebook that's being run. There are, this is going to sound embarrassing, but really this is why I have managers and people to take care of it, because it's beyond me. I can't, it requires someone smarter than me to run it.
It's a large task to do all that.
Oh, there are lots of sites and links, and Reverb can usually get you to most of them. All of our previous music, the Hollywood record, everything is on the best of on iTunes. I think we're on Apple Music. I think Reverb will lead you to most of the places you go. If you Google Greg McCuin, take caution, because there's all kinds of drama out there that's not true.
Oh yeah,
and it's entertaining, man. Just never Google yourself. You should try it, Chris. I mean, really, just Google yourself.
Every now and then I will.
It's
close
insane.
my eyes.
I can't let my children be watching while I'm on the laptop.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we'll end it up there. But if you guys are out there, Google the name, but most of all, go to Reverb Nation, listen to some of the songs, because the other night I was on there and listened to a few of the songs on the previous album, and I was there on the Facebook page is how I got to the Reverb Nation page. But if you're a member of Reverb Nation or anything out there, look for McEwen Band and iTunes, all these music outlets, you're probably going to see them there. You're probably going to hear them, stream it, pay for it, whatever you got to do. But most of all, when you hear them coming close to you, go to a show, because you're going to get the most bang for your buck off the show. And then you can get a CD at the show.
There you go. Yeah. Absolutely. And you'll buy it from us.
Yeah, because I love CDs. I love opening up and reading the things that you guys write in there, whoever you think, the pictures or whatever you put in the liner notes. That's just me, man. I guess I'm a little bit old school, but that's what I like seeing.
I would call that the only school.
Yeah, because oftentimes you can hear the songs and you kind of know somebody through the songs, but you'll see another a little bit more depth inside the liner notes. Because I know in some of my CDs, I put a little bit more about the songs and the music, not just links on the internet for you to go read, because not everybody's a link person.
That's right. You're right. That's right. Man, I'm honored, my friend, and appreciate the call and the time and the opportunity to just to be talking to you.
Oh yeah, that's cool, man. I thank you for giving the time, because I had you on my list, and it'd been a while. I got other interviews and things going on, and I'm like, man, I gotta get a hold of them.
You're busy, man, too. Yeah, I get it. It's I appreciate it, man. I'm honored.
Cool.
I'm honored.
Yeah.
So,
if anything comes up, we'll do it again sometime, or just give me a shout. But like I see you online or something, you give me a shout every now and then, just a wave, how it's going. I'm a firm believer in that. You got friends out there, you at least ask them how they're doing every once in a while.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right, man. Well, we'll get at you later.
Sounds good.
And keep playing, man. Don't ever stop.
Yeah, we'll keep on.
Don't ever stop what you're doing.
Soon. Yeah, we'll do it.
All right.
Thank you, my brother.
Thank you.